Fame really is that he came through the Mayor's Summer Youth Program. He was a young fellow here in school who got the light of freedom and the light of leadership and made a way for himself here in the District of Columbia and went on to become chairman of the D.C. City Council. We want him to come back tonight to talk a little bit about his role here in the government. Kwame Brown.
Well, good evening. Let me say how humbled I am to be able to give a couple remarks about our good friend, Marion Barry. Or can I say Marion Barry? See, Uncle Reggie said you gotta keep it plain. Keep it simple, Marion Barry. Well, you know, as I listened to all the speakers that have came up and talked about Marion, you know, I've known Marion all my life. Almost over 40 years. And yeah, I'm the youngster. She said I'm the youngster. But my kids don't say that anymore. I'm not cool. But Marion, early on, there's no question that if Marion was here today, he would want someone from the youth to talk, because that was Marion. Marion was always about the kids. And I used to ask him, you know, because I sat next to Marion for 7 years on the city council. And I tried to get away from Marion. I told Linda Kropp, I said, you know, why do I get sit next to Marion? And she said, because Marion requested to sit wherever you're going to sit, he wants to sit next to you. And, you know, I didn't quite understand it then. As a young person growing up in the city and going through and I'm gonna still call it the Marion Barry Summer Job Program, because that's what it is. I don't care who the mayor is. It's the Marion Barry Summer Job Program. And when you're going through the Summer Job Program, you young at 14 and 15 years old, you don't really quite understand the Summer Job Program. Back then, I think you could get $175 a week, and you got a job. And it felt good to have a job, and it just wasn't those that were poor that got a job. Everyone got a job. And you were able to work with people all over the city. Somehow, I don't know how the administration did it, many of you was a part of that, they would put together a program where people from different areas would end up working together. So you would work with someone that was either in a different neighborhood that you lived in, a different economic status that you were in, and you was able to work together. And you got that $75 every, 2 weeks or something. And I thought that was a lot of money. And some people got that and they had to give that to their family to actually help with the bills. Some people got that money and they would use one of their checks a month to help buy groceries. See, those are stories that we don't really hear about in the media. Some of those individuals would, of course, have their back-to-school money. And they would try to save as much as they can so they can have back-to-school money, because at that time, their parents didn't have any money to give them to go back to school, so they had to go down to F Street, and y'all remember F Street back in the day, and they would buy that. Some people never got on a subway or bus. And this was the first time, because you had a job that you had to be somewhere across town. The job never happened to be where you lived at. And we used to always complain about that, because it was so much easier to go down the street. So the Summer Job Program itself and the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute, and I know we got the media here today, so they should get it right. It wasn't about a job. I found that it was about organization, and it was about organizing. I thought that we were just going to get a job, but then you had this Youth Leadership Institute, and you stayed on Howard University campus, and for 2 weeks. And I guarantee you 80% of the people that stayed on that campus had never seen a campus or college in their life. But for those 2 weeks, you thought you were grown. For those weeks, you dreamed of a quality education. For those 2 weeks, you realized that graduating from college was a possibility, and going to college was a possibility. And they would say, why are we cities spending so much money on these kids staying at Howard University? Because they didn't understand that it was not just about a job. When you were there, they taught you how to organize. And let me tell you, I didn't like any of it. First I didn't even want to go to stay. I wanted to hang out. So my dad made me go, and so I went. And you stayed on the campus, and you got up, and you went to eat at the cafeteria at Howard University. Then you got on the bus, and you went to a job. And then you came back, and you had workshops. And these workshops taught you public speaking. Now, I didn't know anything about public speaking. I didn't want to speak. I wanted to sit back and be cool. But they made you get up and speak. And I learned public speaking from the Marion Youth Leadership Institute. All right? So today people say, man, you talk so well. I said, it was Marion. Half of them don't believe me, but those that are real, they know what time it is when I say it. But he also said, you have to know your precinct. You have to know your ANC commissioner. You have to know your city council member. You have to know who the mayor is. You have to know how many people live in your precinct. You have to know, you start to think about that. That's what we were being taught. And then you had to have ideas and things that you wanted to challenge. And you would come and argue back and forth with each other about what's needed. And then you would elect a youth mayor. And then you would elect four at-large council members, youth council members. Then you would elect a youth council member and the ANC. So as you start to see it, the vision was larger than just a summer job. It was about getting involved in your community. It was about organizing and understanding what is actually needed. And it's interesting to hear that year after year after year, people tear down the summer job program because it's been classified as a job. And what is classified as an educational tool to help our young folks in a number of many different areas. So it was interesting, even when I campaigned. And anybody know, I don't know how Marion called everyone all the time. I could not understand how everyone I talked to every day just spoke to Marion Barrett. So I thought some people were just lying. They just wanted to be cool, right? Because the cool thing is I talked to Marion. I talked to Marion too. And I talked to Marion. Well, how did Marion talk to everybody and just sitting around here? And then I found out that when I started to run for office, Marion just call you. Kwame, I know your daddy. Daddy worked for me for a long time, Kwame. See, what you got to do is, you get with Cortland. Tell Cortland going to talk to you about the business aspect of it. But win first. Don't say none of that stuff, because you ain't going to win if you say that stuff. You got to win. And he said, yeah, and then so it became so, you got to go talk to this person. You talking to Reggie Robinson? Oh, my goodness, talking to Reggie Robinson. Reggie Robinson, oh, my God. Kwame, you got to balance yourself. So it was interesting. I got to tell this story because the person was on the list to speak, and I got to keep it plain. I was in a campaign office because no one would give us a campaign office. And the people who had my signs up, and this means a lot to me, was the SNCC folks. So I have to say that because nobody else did. And it was the SNCC folks that believed in me. And nobody would give us a campaign office. So we got one. And I never understood the power of SNCC people. Can I keep it plain? Because sometimes as a young kid growing up, you just think some of this stuff happens. And I hear so many stories. I mean, I've heard every civil rights story. I've heard it growing up. I heard them all. I heard a story about everyone in here at some point. And so I was there. It was me, and it was, I believe, it was Charlene's son, Avi, who was there. And I mean, I could not have won without Charlene Krantz and Avi, who was there every single day. So we get a knock on the door. So I open the door, and it's Tom Sherwood. And he has a camera. And so Tom says, where they at? Where they at? Where they at? And he's just running through, where they at? I said, who are you looking for? He said, well, I'm looking for Cortland Cox, Ivanhoe Donaldson, Marion people. I know they're in here. And so I said, what are you talking about? So he looked in the bathroom, he looked everywhere. And then he said, well, I want to interview with you because I know some Barry people are around. And I said, well, no, we got, are you talking about the folks from SNCC? I mean, you're not talking about one man, you're talking about a lot of people who've helped my campaign. And I wish Tom was here because I would call him out tonight. Because the people he was talking about was you. And I told him I would stand with you guys every day because I would not be here if it wasn't for you. And Marion would say, when I got on the council, he would sit next to me. Charlene knows this very well. Marion would call all the time. because Marion thinks he controls you. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. He don't care who you are. He think I controlled you. I talked to Nelson Mandela and blah, blah, blah. That's what I told him to do. And I put the resolution up there. If you go to Mandela's house, it's mine. I put it there, and he talked to him. He told me that. So, and then Marion would say, don't worry about it. I talked to him. And he had like these phones, and he would just sit there, and his phones would ring, and he says, the kids, Kwame, we got to do something for the kids. So the first thing we did was pass the bill to institute the mayor's youth leadership as law. So it would always be law, and every year whoever was the mayor act like they were going to fund it, not fund it. People act like they like the kids, don't like the kids, love the kids. Kids know they don't love them, and that's why we got these problems. So I made it law, so that no matter what happens, the Marionberry, I guess I can keep calling the Marionberry Youth Leadership Institute, would continue to go on. And he looked at me, he said, you got it in you. He came to my office one day, and he said, you got it in you. You got it in you. And then he would say, you know I could have thought of that, right? You know I could have thought of that. But you thought of it. And I got to keep it plain. Because if you grew up in this city and you ran for any office, the Washington Post would always try to kill you if somebody close to you was about Marionberry. This just was a thing. You're Marionberry. No matter what happens, you'll be stigmatized as Marionberry. I kind of accepted it because I thought Marion was a cool person. He was crazy as all outdoors. And we would argue all the time. So I thought I would sit next to Marion on the dais because he just wanted to, be on the camera. And I said, I don't want to be on the camera because Marion's always on the camera. And he looks for the camera, and he loves the camera because he wants to talk to the people. And if you ever heard Marion, when he gets on the mic, he tells a story. And many of you know he will talk forever about all these stories. And if he was here today, he would tell a story about everyone sitting over here and everyone sitting there. And all of y'all be ready for Marion to get off the mic. Because that was Marion. I didn't understand that at first. So I said, Marion, why do you tell a story every time you want to ask the question? So a witness would be there, and Marion would start with a whole story for all 5 minutes. And then what's the question? He goes, well, let me think of one real quick. And he said, Kwame, see, the lion will always be king of the jungle if they're the one who tell the story. Some of y'all just getting that. That took me like 5 times what he said before I actually knew what he was talking about. Actually, it took me 3 years to figure it out.